Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay Classic. I'm Ralph Quartucci.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Debbie Murphy.
I'm Ralph's younger brother, John.
And I'm Chris Coker.
Hey, Chris, welcome back. Good to have you back.
Good to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
How's it going,
Ralph,
everybody?
we lost our millennial. It only took
we did.
one show, and we lost him.
He didn't feel like doing it. I don't know.
Because
I think the film was before 1960, so he turned to dust while watching it.
I think what happened was he wanted to pick a movie that week, and Ralph made him pick something else. And I think he said, look, if I can't be my own man, I'm not going to do it.
Had nothing to do with it. I think it had to do with he had to do a little homework. He had to watch the film. He had to think about it a little bit. He didn't want to deal with that.
Oh, homework. Watch the movie.
I don't know. He may be back. He may be back.
All right. Well,
this would have been a good one. This would have been a good one for him to watch because it's so old. And I would have liked to hear his reaction. But before we talk about that film, let's talk about what you watched. Chris, since you weren't here last time, what'd you watch?
I'm just going to go with what I actually, my first, I went back into the actual movie theater for the first time. I'd been to the drive-thru a couple of times, but I went to see Dune, Denis Villeneuve's new version of Dune, part one. Let's be very clear that it is only the first half or so of the book, maybe a little over half. Dune is one of those books that I've read that book from page one to the end 3 times. And, I've read bits and pieces of it literally dozens of times. So I'm super familiar with the material. And I had a hard time with it at first. It's beautiful. It's very large. You really need to see it on the big screen. It's got a lot of that. But one of the things that I had a hard time like wrapping my mind around it when I was watching it is the movie does not have a lot of the detail from the book and from the other versions about all the little kind of minutia that makes up the Dune world, right?
Well, it'd be 18 hours long, right? The movie would be 18 hours long.
Yes and no, but I mean, I guess my point is that he doesn't mention like a lot of these little things. You see characters, perform an action or whatever, but there's a whole reason they're doing it, and there's a whole like history, and only certain people can. There are these people called mentats. They're like human computers, right? And in the movie, you see them, and they do these like massive mathematical computations.
They're good with math.
Exactly, by rolling their eyes back in their head. But they never mentioned the word mentat. And it took me a little while, but about halfway through the film, it hit me that like Villeneuve wanted to make, and this is what I've been calling it, is like a minimalist version of Dune. He didn't want to get bogged down in all of the little detail in some ways that make the book so great, but also make it somewhat impenetrable for a lot of people. Because it's super detailed. It's got religion, it's got economics, it's got politics, it's got, feudalism and all this great, and there's all this history that's hinted at that they don't get into. So I think he was actually trying to make a version of Dune for somebody who'd never read the book or seen either the other filmed versions, the David Lynch version from '84, and then the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries with, William Hurt, who played the Duke, who played Leto Atreides. And so it's very interesting. I'm really interested to see the second half. I'm super excited that it's been given an official go ahead that they're going to do it. Because for me, like I said, more Dune is a better thing. And it's funny, as much as I love that book, I'm not so precious about it when they change things. It really like irks me.
Well, this is like this is a part one, right? Supposedly.
It's
so if he's leaving things out, he might be saving it if they decide to do another one.
Didn't they do? Is it the first book? Isn't it the first book? They did half of the first book, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Did you read all the books? I think I read them all.
I couldn't read it.
I've read all of the ones that Frank Herbert wrote, and I've read a few of the ones that his son has written. A couple of the prequel series.
You're ahead of me.
They really started spinning out there. But no, I mean, I really like the look of the film. I think that the actors are great. I've heard some people complain that they're a little one note, and I'm not saying that that's not necessarily wrong. They do feel like sometimes it feels like you've got Oscar Isaacs as Paul's father, as the Duke, and he feels a little kind of one note. He doesn't feel like he's got a lot of depth going on there. But at the same time, it looks great. And it is hard to judge a movie that is only one half of the story. It really is. Some people would say that's a cop out. Maybe it is, but I'm really looking forward to the second one.
Did you see it in IMAX or a straight film? Straight?
No, I just went to a regular movie theater. I mean, the fact is there's only one real IMAX movie around us, and that's at the Science Center.
Right.
And the IMAX that you see at like AMC or any of the other big chains, they're not really IMAX. In fact, some of the theater chains don't even call it IMAX anymore. They call it like EMAX or Extreme Digital Experience.
A friend of mine saw it in IMAX and just couldn't stand how loud it was.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. I
okay.
mean, I know the way to see that film. I told everybody last week, my son saw this on an iPhone. I'm like, you can't see this film on an iPhone.
No.
You got to go at least, a regular. And this guy was saying the same reaction I had when I saw Man of Steel in an IMAX film. The sound was so blaring that it took away from the joy of watching the film because it just hurt. It literally hurt. And that's what he was saying when he saw this one in an IMAX. But from what I understand, it's such an immersive film that's the best way to see it. And, otherwise you're missing out on a bunch.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if the Maryland Science Center, which believe it or not, does show like mainstream movies on their IMAX, on their IMAX screen. If they were showing it there, I would have definitely gone there, but I don't think they were.
Oh.
I did see Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
And that was truly IMAX, as in the image was square as opposed to rectangular.
Yeah.
And that was a film where, that was amazing. Seeing it there, that was pretty intense. So
cool. John, anything you want?
Well, I was going to say I watched Dune, except I didn't. I did make a mistake.
Are we good then? We can move.
No, I did. I didn't see it in the movie theater, and I should have.
Oh.
I saw it at home. I have a pretty big TV, and it was. I thought it was beautiful. So I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I thought it dragged a little bit, but I thought it was beautiful. I just visually. I really wish I saw it on IMAX. And Rose watched it too, and she really liked it. My only problem with it was watching on TV. I don't know what it is with these movies that they put on TV at the same time they're in the theater. The dialogue was real low compared to everything else. So whenever they spoke, I had to crank up the volume, then had to crank it back down when there was an action scene. It was really annoying. You couldn't understand what they were saying.
It's designed for big theaters.
Well, okay. Well, then don't release them simultaneously.
Put the closed caption.
So what I ended up doing was, after I watched it, I watched the original Dune, David Lynch's Dune.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah. And I'm a little disappointed that I did, because it was bad. It was bad.
What?
Now, in fairness to David Lynch, he denounces the film because the producers, he didn't have final cut on it. So his cut was 3.5 hours. They cut it down to under 2 hours. So they crammed a lot of they crammed what's going to be in 2 movies into 1 movie. So, things were dropped, a character would show up, then they're gone for the rest of the movie. And some of the special effects still hold up, I have to tell you. It was pretty ambitious. Now, in contrast to the new one, the visuals aren't even close. Obviously technology is so different.
Yeah.
But I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed some of the performances, a little over the top. A little homoerotic going on. I don't know if that was in the book or not, but there was definitely that going on.
You mean the Lynch version or the new version?
The Lynch version, not in this version. The Lynch version, it definitely was. The Baron was, he was a horn dog.
And that's
Is
part
he
of
the big
book.
guy that floats around?
Yeah, that's from the book, right?
Yeah, and that is in the book. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get off track here, but yes, that element is in the book. The Baron is. He likes everything.
AC/DC.
But they didn't do that in the new version. And the other thing I watched real quick, I watched the first 2 Clint Eastwood, the Man with No Name trilogy.
Oh, nice.
Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. I've never seen the first one. A Fistful of Dollars, I think was the first one, right? Or was it A Few Dollars More? And it's amazing after watching the movie how Sergio Leone impacted how Westerns were then filmed.
Sure.
The stuff that he did in that movie that wasn't done in American Westerns because he didn't know. He just did it the way, whenever there was a shootout, he did it from over the shoulder of Clint Eastwood, as opposed to you see Clint Eastwood shoot, then they have a close up of the bad guy. They never did that before. And the music was great. And it was on a very low budget, and it was a really tough shoot. But I really enjoyed it. And Clint Eastwood, that's what made Clint Eastwood a star, and you can understand why. He had very little dialogue in it, and definitely he stole the first movie, and the other two, he was more of a side character actually, but the first one, it was all him. So that's what I watched anyway.
Well, Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach, are those the ones?
That's the third one, Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Right.
That's the one where Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood had a falling out.
Oh.
The first two movies, they got along fine. But that he never worked with him again. But now he always
falling out.
He didn't like the way he was kind of a dictator, and Clint Eastwood at that point got so big that he had his own thoughts on his character, and they didn't gel, and it got kind of ugly at the end. And he felt like it was a Eli Wallach movie and not a Clint Eastwood movie. And he didn't think it was, because Clint Eastwood was the star of that movie. Right. So, but
well, he gave him a very warm introduction when he got the honorary Oscar.
Well, because he said his career, Sergio
without
Leone
him, he
gave him his career.
Sure.
Yeah. So he never forgot that.
Are you saying that there are suck-ups in Hollywood, Sean, that people wouldn't, lie to, whatever? Anyway, Sean and Debbie, what about you guys?
Well,
what'd you watch?
I would say that we were enjoying most the return of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which is
we are so excited.
That's a strange series because it's like they'll do a season, they'll sort of like end the show, but you don't know whether it's just like, well, we're not coming back. But then it's like 2 years later, we'll do another season.
Have you seen them this year yet? Have you seen them?
Yeah, we watched two of them yesterday. Oh my gosh.
We are so excited. It was like, oh my gosh,
if there's very funny
that Larry David could hear us, how we gushed and how excited we were. Oh,
I don't think he would care.
Listen, they want him. HBO wants him to do it every single year. Yeah, he just does it when he wants to do it.
My favorite thing about that series is when they got that guy that was accused of murdering somebody. Did you ever hear this documentary?
Yeah, I heard that.
And Curb Your Enthusiasm happened to be filming at Dodger Stadium, and they got him on camera to prove that he wasn't the murderer.
Right. Wasn't that the one where Larry David got a hooker so he could get the HOV lane?
Yes.
Wasn't that one? Yeah. And then his friend saw him.
He's great. I love it. And since he added Leon to the mix, JB Smoove is just,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Their chemistry is outrageous. So that's great. Yeah. Good one. Is that it? Anything else?
I want to say with JB Smoove, one good gag in one of these episodes was
Smoove.
He gets these tickets to take his girlfriend to Asia. It's a very expensive trip, and he breaks up with her. So he puts out ads, and he can't change the ticket name. He doesn't want to lose the money. So he auditions for other girls with the same name.
It's so great. And they'll carry that through the whole series. That'll carry through the whole thing. No, it's brilliant. He's brilliant. I don't think we need to tell him that. He knows. Yeah. Anything else before me?
No, go right ahead, Ralph.
I watched a car burn on Facebook.
I saw that too. That was great.
It looked highway in Ohio.
It looked like bad CGI.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was like the green screen was terrible on that thing. The way it burned, it didn't look like it was real.
I got a question for you, Ralph.
Yeah.
Did you see the play? Did Sean have a shot of the car, the finality of it?
No, I only saw the burning
while it's on fire.
Sean and Debbie's car.
We only saw the raging inferno. That was your car.
Insane.
Let me
I went to Pittsburgh a week ago to visit my daughter who's going to Pitt, and took my son, and found out on my way there that I was not invited to the Halloween party they were going to. So I had to just go away for a few hours that night. So it was a toss up between going to see Dune or going to see. Well, I wanted to see The Shining. The Shining was playing at a theater in Pittsburgh. And because of weather and everything and where my hotel was, it was just a pain for me to get back in. So I had a choice between Dune and No Time to Die. And I went with No Time to Die.
Bond.
And I loved it.
Really?
Oh,
yes.
You did?
Yes.
I'm a big Bond fan.
I'm not. I didn't think I was a huge fan. Take it or leave it. But I've become a huge Daniel Craig Bond fan.
Yeah.
And I actually went back and watched the first 2 or 3 after I saw No Time to Die. Because this is sort of his swan song film. I don't know if he'll continue on or not, but no. It was just it was really well done. And it's funny when you watch the first couple, Casino Royale and then Quantum of Solace. those are much more. I mean, Casino Royale is basically a card game that goes on all day, and the villain, the Mads Mikkelsen villain, is like he's hardly in there, and he does that one torture scene where he's swinging that thing into his nuts.
But that's from the book. That's from the book. Casino
Okay,
Royale.
great. I don't read, so I have no idea. I'm just watching the film.
Le Chiffre, also played by Orson Welles in Casino Royale, the comedy.
The Woody Allen version, or whatever, the David Niven version?
He played the same character as Miggs Metalstein, or whatever his name is.
Okay. I'll have to watch that because I just thought this was a good, very well done Daniel Craig James Bond. And all the other players they added around. There was another 007 because he retired or went away or whatever. So this new person introduces 007. I just thought it was really well done. So
it's a little too Jason Bourne for me.
Well, they started doing
not Bond movies; they're Bourne movies.
And I loved Skyfall. I thought Skyfall.
Skyfall may be my favorite Craig.
Yeah, it was really well done, and it does get a little Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
But and it's funny when like I said, when I look back at the first couple, they seem really slow compared to this one.
Yeah.
And lots of shots of Craig coming out of the ocean and Casino Royale, all that stuff. Which one is Halle Berry in? Is that the third one?
Halle Berry. She was in. She was in
with
Brosnan.
Oh, when
she was in
comes
the
out
last one. With
she was
Brosnan.
Jinx.
When she comes out in the Ursula Andress.
They were going to give her own. They were going to spin her off to her own movie, but that movie crashed and burned so bad.
Okay,
well, terrible.
Anyway,
it was terrible.
No Time to Die.
Invisible Car.
You should go check it out.
Very good.
Because it's
this. I was on jury duty, and I was jury member 7003. So anytime they would say juror 7003, I would say 003. And they still put me on the jury, even though I did that.
Were you the hit of the jury room, Sean? Were you the hit of the jury room?
I was cracking people up.
I bet
you'd hardly imagine that it was a attempted murder trial.
Oh my God! I hope you take it seriously. All right, so let's do this is a Yippee-Ki-Yay classic. It's one of our last before we start doing round robins. We may have a special guest on the next one. We're kind of waiting for that information to come in.
Oh, he's in favor.
What happened to John?
He's good for the 23rd?
He said he's got to check his schedule to make sure he's not flying anywhere that week.
Okay, well, I don't want to give it away just yet, but that'll be a fun special guest and a fun film to do.
But what happened to your brother?
I guess he went away. I guess we have to keep moving. Listen, the show must go on. We don't stop for anybody.
Oh, man.
We don't stop for John.
You think I'm going to stop for him? All right, we'll wait for him to come back. Let's see what's going on. I don't know what happened.
Back to a little bit on Dune. There's one thing I wish they would have explained: why they're fighting with swords all the time and not guns, ray guns.
Well, you see, that's one of the things they did. Oh,
I know why. It's because if you shoot a laser at that shield, it will blow up you and the person in the shield. So that's why they have to use the bladed instruments.
Yeah, it's explained a little bit in the David Lynch version, which I'm actually a huge fan of. I actually think that's a good movie. I think I
tried to watch the first 20 minutes. I'm like, eh.
One of the things I think Villeneuve wanted to get away from was a lot of people have said about the Lynch version is it hits you with like a fire hose of stuff. Oh.
What?
Oh,
awesome!
Jesus.
Nielsen.
Right.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know.
I know there'll be no Robbie the Robot there.
He's got a Robbie the Robot. I think.
Leslie Nielsen.
I knew he did.
Oh, yes, he does.
You just gave away the film. I hadn't.
What, Robbie? What are you saying, Robbie?
I just can't understand how Rose doesn't throw you out of that house. Honest to God, unless she's part of this cosplay you guys are doing.
I have an Anne Francis miniskirt.
You wear that, or does Rose wear it?
No, well, it doesn't matter. Really, does it matter? It's Forbidden Planet.
It is.
All right. So now that he's back, the movie is Forbidden Planet. Debbie picked Forbidden Planet. Do you want to see a trailer first, Debbie, or do you want to talk about?
Who needs a trailer with me here?
Ah, no kidding.
Imagine yourself as one of the crew of this faster-than-light spaceship of the future.
sharing their curiosity to know the unknown, their tension, their readiness for inconceivable adventures.
Commander, if you sat down on this planet, I warn you that I cannot be answerable for the safety of your ship or your crew.
When you reach the Forbidden Planet, you explore all the wonders of a vanished civilization. You travel deep down into the heart of the Forbidden Planet to discover the incredible marvels of this lost genius race. These magnificent scenes in striking Eastman color stagger the imagination.
20 miles. Look down, gentlemen. Are you afraid? 7,800 level.
Yet the wonders of the planet Altair 4 conceal a strange and evil force, unknown, irresistible.
By the way, the narrator of that trailer was Robby the Robot.
Okay.
Marvin Milner, I think it was. Is that his
Really?
name, Marvin? Yeah.
Was
yeah.
he from Adam 12?
No, not that guy.
Martin?
No.
That's Martin. All right, Debbie, give us some facts, some stuff, and then we'll dive in.
Okay, so we were
Take my
watching
uniform.
this first time I've seen this on Turner Classic Movies. And I said, this sounds like a good movie. So we watched it and I loved it.
Wait a minute. You said the first time you saw it was on Turner Classic Movies?
Yeah, I've never seen it before.
Oh. Wow.
We were watching TCM and I turned it on. I said, wow, this is a cool movie to watch. And I loved it. It's Leslie Nielsen plays Adam. Commander
John Adams.
with his
Captain John Adams.
yeah, they go to a planet and they end up the person for a lost mission that was 20 years ago that they lost track of. So they go to this planet, they find the planet, and they're forbidden. They said, don't come to this planet.
He warns them, right? He warns them, don't land on this planet. I can't guarantee your safety, right?
Yes, Dr. Morpheus.
Morbius.
Walter Pidgeon.
Morpheus is what you inject into your arm when you
have
a problem with heroin.
Or who will give you a red pill or a blue pill.
That's right.
They go to this planet and they meet the good doctor there, and his daughter is Altera.
His hot daughter.
Yes, played by Anne Francis. Beautiful. She's very innocent, very sweet. All the astronauts there kind of
hit on her.
Crazy about her.
Yeah.
They've been in space a while.
But she's not interested in them.
Well, she doesn't know whether she. Well, okay, go ahead.
Well, she's just, she's been around her dad all this time because 20 years.
Sexual innocence.
Right. Yeah, she's very innocent. She doesn't know anything. So this is all new to her, seeing, other men other than her father. So it's interesting. She's treating them like they're specimens, like strange. And she has no, regular associate that she doesn't have any idea what these men are all about. And they're totally crazy for her, but she's just like not into that.
Well, to the point where we're jumping around. Okay, but there's also the story of all the other people who Morbius was with got killed by some unknown creature, right?
Well, it was a rescue mission. This was a rescue mission.
This was a rescue, but there was an original crew that got killed.
That's right.
Right.
So the good doctor says there's some evil force here in this planet, and it killed off everybody.
Right, except
that was living there. All the crew that came to discover what was going on with this civilization. This civilization was 200,000 years ago. This is called a Krell civilization. And they built this. Now we don't know. This is gradually coming out to
exposition. A lot of exposition.
Nielsen,
right.
Commander Adams.
With the doctor.
The doctor.
He and the doctor.
Tells them, all this stuff in bits and pieces. Now, what happens is amazing because it's similar to The Tempest, William Shakespeare. And I know you know that. Did you do any Shakespeare?
No,
John?
I did not.
No.
I did the Hamlet soliloquy in an acting class. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I tried to read Shakespeare, but I said I wish they would use English.
All right, give me the quick, because I don't know what Tempest was. I know the title. I don't. What's the quick one sentence synopsis of the Tempest?
Quick.
Tempest is about a guy named Prospero who was the Duke of Milan, and his brother took over his kingdom, sent him out. Him and his daughter are shipwrecked on an island. Much like this, he's got a beautiful young daughter who grows up in exile with him, but he's a sorcerer. He has magical powers, much like Morbius in this film, but Morbius is science. And also, Morbius has two assistants. One is like a Ariel, a fairy, which is sort of like Robby the Robot. And he also has a monster that does his will too.
Okay. So
that's the main similarities.
Well, there
and
you
then
go. That's
Then outsiders come and the daughter falls in love with him. But I don't think there's as much of an incest theme in the Shakespeare plays there is in this one.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the incest theme. What, just because the father-daughter were close?
Yeah, because
it's obviously he's holding a great deal of, possessiveness of his daughter.
Well, that's where the whole
wants to hold on to her sexuality.
Well,
he's trying to control her sexuality.
She's an innocent. And she's sort of like Eve-like, because when she's there, there's like a tiger, and she's like not afraid of the tiger comes, and she's cool with that tiger and all the other animals and the critters. But
once her sexuality awakens.
And then she kind of likes Leslie Nielsen. She's single. There's a
Who
growing
well, she hits on him right away when she mentions the three guys. The two guys in the end are really handsome. The one in the middle's really nice too. So she's picking and choosing.
She kissed the first guy.
She could get her choice on that in this circumstance.
Yeah, I think so.
She goes for the top guy. You know what I mean? She is after the alpha male there, and he is the alpha male. He's a commander.
All right. But
you got to admit there is a sexual nature to more, because ultimately the monster is Morbius. It's sort of like a combination of the Tempest and Freud.
I saw it as him being protective, not.
Yeah, I didn't catch any incest. I mean,
I didn't catch that.
I don't know. He's holding on to his daughter's innocence in a way that it's unnatural.
Yeah, so it's unnatural because
they've been alone on the planet her whole life.
The dates for all this. William Shakespeare, 1611,
wrote The Tempest.
In Freud, his time was 1850 to 1936. Then comes 1956 with the Forbidden Planet.
Okay.
So there's 20 years difference between Forbidden Planet and Freud. Just to give you a,
20 years difference. When you say Freud was 18 what?
1850 to 1936.
Well, he was born in 1850. He did his work in the 20s and 30s.
All right, let's but there's other stuff
the
about
parallels. Their parallels are between these three time frames, and now we have today, 2021. That's why I really wanted to, get somebody's opinion of. Well, maybe not a 6-year-old opinion of this, but
I would like to see her 6-year-old opinion.
Chris's 9-year-old might have an opinion if he can get him on, but
this is like the what was done before and what was progressing as time goes on. But anyway, this is I love the way that they have the brain enhancer. There's a brain enhancer in this movie, and they've got their rocket goes into hyperdrive, and
Well, Morbius was tapped into the Krell. Is that the name of the
Krell?
Yeah, Krell
The
civilization.
Krell technology.
He was tapped into their technology. So he,
Now their technology was one of perpetual
learning.
No,
energy.
perpetual motion machine.
All the little dials, 10
the whole
times 10 times 10. Yeah.
Was perpetuating itself.
All right, but let's talk about
died because the machine was the most important thing.
Well, because they could create things from thought. So they didn't have to do anything anymore. And the machines kept it going. And eventually it wiped them all out.
But as a film, let's talk about it as a film. This was one of the first serious science fiction films that was made, is what I read. That this was.
Yeah.
Now, what makes this so atypical is when we have an Earth and the aliens come to us.
Right.
This is when they go there and they find, an advanced civilization there.
But that civilization was already gone, right? Millions
The
of years.
Krell, yes.
The Krell were gone.
Yes.
So there are no aliens. The only aliens are what? There are no aliens.
The monster from the id.
But that id, that was
that's
from
the Doctor.
Yeah, but it manifested into a monster.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But that comes from Morbius.
Yes.
Probably using the technology to tap in and expand
the brain booster. And the machines manifested what he came up with.
All right.
Look, this movie was originally a B movie. And then MGM decided, because I think at that point, This Island Earth had come out and one other movie. And they said, you know what, it was the most expensive movie they made that year, was this movie. And what they did was they decided that they were going to play it straight. The director of this movie went to the cast and said, look, don't think of this as a kid movie, even though it was made for kids and adults. He said, you have to take this deadly serious, other than the one character, Earl Holliman, who was there for comic relief, right?
Well, and the robot was kind of.
Yeah, but even the robot had some serious things in it. And by the way, the guy who designed the robot also designed B9 and Lost in Space. He also designed that robot.
Right. And,
and the robot became the biggest star of the entire movie. But they pumped a lot of money into it. The sets were all shot in studio. They're beautiful. The special effects were cutting edge.
Those are the Wizard of Oz sets too.
That's right. They brought over an animator from Disney. So anything that you saw that was animated, including the electrical charges, the monster from the id, that was animated by that Disney animator. And one of the decisions they made that I love, they were going to show you what the Krell looked like. So they had tests of what they wanted the Krell figures to look like. And the director decided, let's just have the shape of the doors, the control panels, let people use their imagination to what they think the Krell probably looked like, which I think added to it, right? Because the doors were shaped so weird, So what shape did they have?
They were made for me.
Yeah. Well, how about the brain booster? It had the 3 probes on it, So that was
where'd that
interesting.
third probe supposed to go?
Well, that's they had a much bigger cranium.
Just ask.
But everything about it, including the music. So the music was the first electronic soundtrack.
Yeah,
there were no instruments.
You see the credit?
Yeah, because they used no instruments, they couldn't give them musical credit. So they came up with tonalities because the unions wouldn't let them say music score by
that was
these guys.
I thought that was pretty cool.
What happened was they did a test screening, and the test screening was so successful because they were going to put a score in it. The test screening was so successful, MGM put it out right away. Now, this was before the director did final edit. So at one point towards the end of the movie, there's a jump cut when they're on the spaceship going home because the director couldn't fix it because they put the movie right out.
Right.
And the electronic score became a huge thing. In fact, I don't know if they won the Oscar, but they definitely got nominated for one. And it became a thing, but it was the first time it had ever been done before. Just there were things in this movie that, like Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry said, this is Star Trek. At the beginning, when they're in those freezers, that's a teleporter. The communicators, the phasers, the ray guns, and Ralph, no backstory. It starts off with them heading towards the planet.
No, I like that, but as soon as I started watching, I'm like, oh my god, this is Star Trek.
It was
down to Leslie Nielsen.
That inspired him.
Doc
basically doing Captain Kirk, basically, and his
robot.
his doc partner.
Yep.
The robot's interesting. Let me just show this poster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're making the robot. I mean, in this, like a real huge part of this. I know he was a big part of it. He's more of a comic relief than anything. But the way they're playing on her mini skirt and the robot being the protector here is pretty interesting. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
the theme as Fay Ray and
King Kong.
King Kong.
Right.
In the poster, but not the show.
Right. The show had nothing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think the interesting thing about that poster is it is a real throwback to what science fiction was in a way before this film. Science fiction always had kind of an element of, fear and luridness to it. There was always kind of that element. I mean, even if you look at like some of the original like Republic serials, even the good ones, like the Flash Gordon ones, there's definitely an element of scantily clad women.
Oh, the Black Lagoon.
Like
that creature is like stalking that woman when he's swimming underwater.
So, I mean, I definitely think they were going for that vibe, but they did a great job when they really took it up a notch. I mean, this movie, even later, it still looks good, and what I mean, obviously it's not as perfect as it was. I mean, there's that scene where the tiger comes walking out and it's kind of see-through, because it's obviously, the technology at the time, they weren't going to have a real tiger walk by Anne Francis. And, but anyway, so they were obviously plating those two things together, or whatever the technical term is.
Well, same way they did her little 3D thing where they built her and she's a little 3D.
Which George Lucas used in Star Wars. Right. The exact same shot.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how this movie, I guess, like I said, I'm like, they stole this. Star Trek stole this. And then you find out Gene
it's
Roddenberry.
an homage.
I understand that's what everybody says, but oh my God. Right down to the hyperdrive and some of the other stuff they were saying.
I thought it was interesting too that like, even for a film, obviously, when you watch a movie that's now 70 years old or close to it, you watch this film and, obviously there's going to be these huge technological mishaps, right? Things that totally went in different directions. But what I think is kind of cool about this film is that like, it did in some ways say, hey, we're going to try to take it seriously. Like when they got in those tubes because they were decelerating, right? Well, I have no idea what would happen to a human body when it suddenly goes from,
light
faster
speed.
than light travel to slower than light travel. It might tear you to pieces. So maybe you would have to get in some kind of like stasis tube. I thought that was really cool.
And they come out of it and they're actually hurt. Some of them are hurting. They're holding their neck. They're So I mean,
I think that there's just a lot of great
traveling. That's how I feel. I come off with that, and I go,
a little uneasy the first couple minutes.
Well, I think they talked with it wasn't NASA at the time, but they talked with the space program about some of the technology that they came up with, the vehicles, the interior of the spaceship. The gyroscope. They had the ship, which is right from Lost in Space. They have the same thing in the middle of the spaceship, the ship on the gyroscope. So that's another homage to it. So to your point, they took it really serious. And you could see it when you look at the interiors of that ship. That was a big set. And the whole outside was a cyclorama. I mean, it was a backdrop in a big circle. And it looked great. And the special effects, that scene, when that monster comes to the fence, and you see it animated, but you never see it real solid. I mean, think about back then watching that.
That's
movie.
what I'm going to say. You can only think about it back then.
But if you're a kid today seeing that,
okay,
you
we're going to talk about this because Chris's 6-year-old and 9-year-old watched this with him, and they liked it. I wish Dylan was on because I guarantee you that they're going to look at this. A kid that age, 24, 25, is going to be, come on, this is ridiculous.
Okay, here's a scene that really
I don't think so.
I do.
Really, I love this scene. And when I say it, I don't know if you guys remember this scene, but it's like, I don't know how they shot it. John, maybe you know. I should have done a little bit more research on it. But they're walking on a path, and all you see is 3 little dots walking in the big, huge space, showing the civilization of the Krells, what they accomplished.
Mats and everything.
And they show like 3 little figures, and you can only see their dots walking, and they're talking.
Well, that's forced perspective.
The middle is the set, and everything else is a matte painting. And that whole Krell thing was matte painting. Brilliant, beautiful matte painting.
Beautiful.
But and when you look down and you see all those different levels, I mean, it was just and Lucas did that in Star Wars with the Death Star. Exact same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. And I felt like this thing when you look at something like that and you see the vastness of what was created, that feeling of enormity and the smallness, and that feeling that we discussed before in another movie called numinos, that feeling of insignificance. That really captured that feeling of that, what that they say some back in those days was one of the proofs for the existence of God, because of that feeling was so powerful. We're talking about ancients, the ancient, just because somebody was ancient does not mean they were stupid. They were very, very intelligent. And they would, the Greeks, they only started with philosophy, studying that when they were 35. You had to be 35 to even begin philosophy. Before that, you would be studying math and all that. So they would send their students out at night, and they would go and just gaze at the Milky Way. And that was where they would just come to that place called Numinos. And they talked, that was very...
Yeah, but I mean, I think I saw that as just how big, how important the Krells were. I mean, I didn't see that as suddenly man is insignificant. It was just like, wow, if we can tap into that, this is going to be great.
Well, it was how advanced they were.
But of course, it does have the fatal thing that Sean and John always talk about, which is the one switch that blows everything up.
Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Because once he pressed that switch, he said,
whatever you do, don't pull that switch.
And you got to get it a billion miles away. He literally pushes
but Ralph,
that.
You don't think like the scene when that monster? First of all, they show the invisible monster, right? You see the footsteps, you see it pressing down, and you hear that music, that electronic thing, dun dun dun, and then they take the footprint, and you see the footprint with the big claw, right? So you still haven't seen this thing yet. Yeah. So your imagination
so scary.
Is
I know, going wild.
No, but then when because there were consequences to that monster.
John, I understand. I'm
the
just
one
saying,
good guy got killed. He picked him up and threw him.
Oh my God, that was brutal. The way he barely screamed or anything. No, I'm just saying. Do I appreciate what they did?
Doesn't sound like you did, Ralph.
I appreciated, like you said, to see this, to walk into this film in 1956. It had to have been mind blowing. Like the first time you walk into Psycho, when that audience goes in and sees Psycho. But nowadays, you're not going to watch that film. Like, I guarantee you, I wish Dylan were here, because I guarantee you he would have said, "Are you kidding me?" Listen, when I had him watch Michael Myers, when I had him watch the first Halloween, his first question was, "I don't understand his trauma. Why is he killing everybody? I need to know why." I go, "Oh my God, forget it. You're ruining it."
I think this movie, for a science fiction movie, it holds up really well.
And I don't love anything.
Because I can be critical. I can be critical.
You can't tell me. You can't tell me. You're looking at this film and going, "Boy, the acting is so good and it's so realistic." Walter Pidgeon basically pukes that exposition over that.
First of all, the fact you even got Walter Pidgeon to do this movie is a big deal. Okay, so it gives it gravitas right there.
Big deep voice.
This would be
like when the brothers are disagreeing. I like
but you asked me a specific question. I'm saying an audience today will not look at this and be scared by that invisible monster that's
I'm not saying
they're going to laugh at it. Okay,
I don't agree with that. I don't think they would laugh.
You should go. You should go to a movie with a millennial and tell me what you.
Listen. That's what this was supposed to be with Dylan, but
I understand. I appreciate it.
But to me, what's interesting, and you guys aren't getting it, but I really think that it's the, like when they say in the trailer, provocative movie. It's the whole sexual aspect.
Sean, you look for sex in everything, though.
I just don't read that the way you're reading it.
They wouldn't let this
spaceship is like a huge erect penis.
No, it isn't. It's a saucer. It is not. It is not. It's a saucer.
Are you talking about Jeff Bezos' spaceship? That one? What you mean?
I don't
like
agree
a flying
with that.
saucer.
Well,
I don't agree with that. The fact she wore a miniskirt, and this is in the mid.
Yeah, they wouldn't let it play in Spain.
Miniskirts existed.
But I do want to put this
outlawed in Spain because of that miniskirt.
Well,
and then Leslie Nielsen has that whole
context a little bit. Is that we talked about This Island Earth, which also had those tubes for like interstellar travel.
Yeah,
that came out in '55, but I bet this film was already shooting by the time.
Took 2 years to make it.
Yeah, 2 years in the making.
Yeah, it could be. But
also too, I think I may be crazy. I think there are 4 big color science fiction films. This one,
War of the Worlds,
This Island Earth, and also When Worlds Collide. The
George Pell. When did that come out?
Maybe a little later.
I know that This Island Earth and War of the Worlds came out before this, and it was the impetus for MGM to pump all the money into it. because I think they were going to call it Planet Terror, and it was going to be a B movie. And MGM said, no, based on that, we're going to make it Technicolor. It's going to be big. We're going to pump a lot of money to it. And it did great. I mean, it was a huge box office hit. And it was one of the first really big budget, serious science fiction movies. So it's a classic. I watched it and I still enjoy it.
I enjoy it completely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Debbie
I didn't
saw
enjoy
it
it.
for the first time.
But again,
I know that amazes me.
Saw this
Again,
film in 1956.
I'm looking at it to go, wow, what they had, they really kind of pulled it off. Those scenes you're talking about where they're shooting at that invisible monster in the fence, it's pretty good because it's loud and you're seeing the stuff. The matte paintings look fantastic, right? When he's talking about 7 miles this way, whatever. All interesting, but I'm just saying an audience today wouldn't, obviously. It's too sophisticated, but even having a kid go back and watch this, I don't think they're going to enjoy it.
But don't you think, Ralph, if they looked at it, look, it's not a film made in 2021. It's a film from 1956. Can they look at it that way? I'm saying unless they're interested in it, no. If you're asking someone just to walk in off the street and watch this as a movie, they don't like The Exorcist. They think that's too slow.
Well, look at this. Well, look at
and there's not enough effects in that one.
Shakespeare is still playing,
Yeah, Shakespeare's still playing.
I'm not listen. Okay, Shakespeare's sprinkled
stories,
through, right? But you guys found incest in this thing. I mean,
I did not find incest in this movie.
I mean, I know there was a lot going on there. I know it was It's the whole fight between a father, daughter.
That's what I thought it was. He was losing his daughter. That's what I said.
Leslie Nielsen.
I'm not saying he wants to have sex with his daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misinterpreted the incest.
Yeah, incest seems to imply.
I misinterpreted the incest part of what you said.
No, it's because he's controlling her sexuality for himself.
He's keeping her. Oh man! Wow! I don't.
Yeah, it's like.
So Chris, as you're watching this, did you?
This is all under.
Wait, Chris's children watched this film. He had a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son watch this.
And were they offended by the incest?
All right.
God, I hope not.
He hopes not.
Wait, hold on a minute. I just got to say one thing, Sean. You're talking about Dr. Freud, and what he said was, it's in your head.
Women want to have sex with their fathers.
No,
I hope not. Jesus, come on.
Hold on just a second.
Yes, it is.
Sean, stop. Okay. Please.
I read Freud.
Sean, you're throwing.
They do say you marry your mother and you marry
Sean,
your father.
Get a little closer to the camera, would you? Just get a little closer.
You'll find this in anything. Oh my God.
No,
I mean, it may have been there was. Isn't that the whole point of the
subconscious? This is on a subconscious.
I understand that's the whole point of this monster.
Look at Robbie's head.
This monster was the id monster, right?
I mean. Monsters from the id.
We've barely. Let's get Chris. Your kids watched this. You said they enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, my son, who is 9, seemed to really enjoy it. I mean, he sat through the entire thing.
I bet he loved the robot.
He did like the robot. He was very excited and intense when it came to the scene. He was somewhat morbidly keeping account of the number of people who died in the film.
Right.
But and like I said, it engaged both he and my daughter. He's got pretty good patience for films. He doesn't have to have like something happening every 5 seconds. But I think just the idea is also that it's to some extent, to your point, Ralph. I haven't exposed him. I mean, he's seen the Star Wars films, so he's seen great special effects, and he can obviously tell these aren't as exciting or as flashy, but. I think sometimes when you have a really strong story, that it can draw you in. And for example,
I don't disagree with that.
I got to it got to that point, and even though it's obviously animated, like drawn animation, they did it in such a way that it felt it felt good. I liked the way that it did. And in some ways it felt almost, this is going to sound weird to say, but it almost felt like it had a tactile realness that sometimes doesn't happen with special effects or computerized special effects. It's like, give me a guy in a rubber mask any day over a computer generated monster.
Or even if they did stop animation and showed you an actual monster as opposed to just the outline from the rays, that was an interesting choice too, because they were going to go the other way. And they said, let's try this way.
And I think that by making it, first off, they put so much stock into the idea that it's invisible, and they have that great, and I'm sorry, it is a great effect with the footprints, and how I'm sitting there thinking, they must have literally had like a raised thing, and they actually dropped the form of the footprint down over very loose soil, so it looked like something was pushing down on it, as opposed to
but that's what you're doing that's, to me, that's what kind of takes away some of the pleasure of the film, which is going, oh, geez, I wonder how they did that fake looking thing.
But we do that with every movie we watch.
I don't know.
I don't think it looked fake. I mean,
no, I know what you're saying. I do. I agree. They were good. The shot going up the steps are pretty good too.
Yeah, and there's other things too, and like I did like the whole thing. I honestly, if I had one criticism of this film, I do wish we had seen the monster one more time when Dr. Morbius is like trying to excise it out of existence from his own mind and that kind of thing, when it's burning through the door.
But wasn't that kind of like the Jaws thing with the barrels? They're not going to show you the monster. They're going to show you it pressing up against the door and then superheating the door to create even more tension.
Yeah, but we had already seen the monster at that point. So my thought is let's get one more nice shot of the monster, even if it's only 3 seconds. But like, I really expected that one more shot of it. I hadn't seen this film since the videotape era, so it's probably been over 30 years at least. And yeah, it is kind of slow, but at the same time, it does have a kind of a nice sense of mystery about it.
It's got a great tone. I mean, the balance between the serious and the comedy. There is comedy in here between the chef.
It was
Earl
forced
Halleman.
upon the director.
I understand it. You keep saying that, but without that, then it's a completely, and then Leslie Nielsen with his dark hair, you're looking at all this stuff.
That was his first movie.
First film. He's very dramatic in this. And the whole idea of making all that whiskey. I mean, it made the robot kind of fun. And Earl the chef was fun. I don't know. I just, we haven't even talked about
the fear of female sexuality.
Well, that's exactly, you keep going to that, but yeah, that's what Leslie Nielsen is saying. You got to get that mini skirt off and put something long on that covers everything up.
But they explained it. She's never been exposed to men. She's only been with her father. So to her, when she first kissed Jack Kelly, it was all an experiment. Let's try that again, just to try it. But then when she kissed Leslie Nielsen, she had a reaction where she didn't. So it's just a natural progression. And that's why the id came back, because Morbius could see she was losing his daughter to John Adams.
Right. So that monster,
one of our founders. But additionally, here's the thing. His id in his anger at his daughter turns on the daughter as well.
That's right.
Tiger attack.
That's right.
She is no longer the innocent and Eden anymore.
That's right.
She has her father's rage, which is why she's in danger. Because she chose Adam, over her father.
Yeah.
And Chris, one more thing. They did make drawings of the final id monster. And they actually had a version that kind of had Walter Pidgeon's face on it. You could see his face with the goatee, but they said they didn't like the way it looked. They didn't think they could work it, so they went that other route.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it does have some really interesting, and then, you were talking about, Debbie, you were talking about like philosophy and things like that. And just generally there is a great kind of underlying message there. And it's funny that, we're talking about the a film from 56 set far in the future, but I mean, it's talking about how sometimes it's, no matter how far our technology gets away from us or becomes so amazing, how it's still hard to get away from, the darkness inside of us and that id part. He talks about the monsters of the id and how in the end, what did in the Krell, it's the Krell, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What did in the Krell was their own, that they had created something without thinking about, what was going to happen, and, like that classic bit from, the Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, where he's like, you never stop to think about, you were so excited with what you could do, you never stop to think if you should do it. Right. And I think that's kind of that's been a constant, theme.
Oppenheimer with the bomb.
Ethics.
Yeah. It's been a constant technological theme. And I think that's part of it, is the idea that, that sometimes in this situation, the Krell, they push their technology so far that they forgot about their own weaknesses and their own failings, and it ended up doing them in. And it's the same thing that did in Dr. Morbius. all of the people who wanted to leave, he killed them.
Right.
He killed them subconsciously. He kills them. He leaves his wife naturally. She dies of natural causes. And then so he's there in this perfect Eden, and it never bothers them again. But then when, that outside force comes,
right.
And once again,
but then the selfishness of this Krell technology that would help Earth and everybody else is now gone, right? Because of his arrogance and his.
Yeah, but the point of that, the whole point was power corrupts absolute. Power corrupts absolute. Okay. So that's what happened. So he knew if that technology went to Earth, it would corrupt just like it corrupted him. That's why.
Which is also a theme of
selfish.
The Tempest.
No,
where Prospero is a sorcerer, and he has his enemies in his hands, and he's got like godlike power. And what would you do with your enemies if you had godlike power? And that's essentially what Walter Pidgeon has.
Right.
He has like godlike power. He can think something and then it happens.
Yeah. Well,
but to me, again, when you look at this movie and what it meant to science fiction going forward, Twilight Zone used the ship a couple of times, the uniforms. Right. You look at Lost in Space. You look at Battlestar Galactica. You look at all these shows.
Listen, the DNA of a robot helping travelers goes all the way through Aliens too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like David and all the
exactly.
aliens
or a robot becomes such a big. Look at they
Lost
did it
in Space. Lost in Space.
They did it in Metropolis. They did it in Metropolis first, right, with the female robot. But this was the first robot that really had. First of all, it wasn't a box, right?
Yeah.
It was an interesting robot. It was designed beautifully because you hid the head low where the lights came on. The design's beautiful, and it ended up in its own movies too. It was in a episode of The Outer Limits. It was an episode of Mork and Mindy. So, and it's amazing to me when you look over the years since the movie came out, what an influence it had on so many other things. That's another reason why when I watch it, I appreciate the story, but I also go, damn, look at that. That's where they got it. That's what I'm saying.
When I first started watching, I'm like, oh my God, this is Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it came on, I was like, oh.
The only thing everyone didn't pick up was the space pay. That was my favorite part. We're going to dock you space pay. I love that line.
Well, that was like in Aliens. They were always talking about their pay and bonus.
Their share. They were talking about their share.
Yeah, Ralph, you obviously saw this film as a child or a kid.
I did not.
So is this the first time you saw it?
Well, yeah, I don't remember if I saw it as a kid. This is definitely the first time I watched it with critical eye, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I know I'm saying what I said about people.
I had it on Super 8, I believe.
I'm sure you do. Sure. I enjoyed the film. I thought I enjoyed the technical aspects of what they had to do with the film. And like John is saying, the DNA of all the other science fiction stuff that's in this film that you can track back probably right to this film. And then of course Shakespeare is layered in all kinds of stuff and sure enough in this film as well. So from that aspect, I thought it was great. But again, I've told you guys this before. It's hard for me to separate my 2020 eyes from a 1956 eyes. I just can't do it. And I wish I could.
Old style acting either.
I can't stay.
Well, it's definitely a different style of acting. It is.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
But it doesn't bother me.
But again, Leslie Nielsen wasn't horrible in this. I bought him as the captain.
His career completely changed once he did The Naked Gun. I mean, he was a straight leading man his whole career. But it's so funny to see him. You think of Leslie Nielsen now. You ask anyone over the age of 40 about Leslie Nielsen, they're going to talk about Naked Gun,
right,
and Police Squad. They're not going to talk about his leading man stuff, which he did a ton of. So you see him now, and that's the same Leslie Nielsen that did The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
I watched an interview. They were at some kind of Comic-Con or something, and the entire cast was still alive, and they all loved this movie. They loved doing it. They all took it very seriously, but they had a lot of fun, and they also all admitted they knew Robby was going to be the star of the movie. There was nothing they were going to be able to do about it.
How could he not? He made whiskey in his little machine.
I know. It wasn't just that. And the vehicles,
70 gallons of whiskey.
Vehicles were cool looking. Those two vehicles
the tanks were cool. I even like that one scene where Leslie Nielsen hits the magnet and picks up the chef on the magnet. I mean, it was.
And Oscar Goldman was in it, even though he got killed.
Well, that's who that was. I thought that
Richard Dean Anderson. Is that his name? I think that's his name, right?
All right, Debbie. Did that satisfy your need to?
Yes, it did.
Show this film for everybody. I'm sorry Dylan wasn't here, but that's too bad. It's his loss. All right, so we got an option here. We got a possible guest for the next one.
Oh, we didn't find out for sure?
He said he can do it. He's just double checking.
Just checking, make sure he's not traveling.
So that's Sean. Do you want to announce who that guest is?
This would be John Shepard, who plays Tommy in Friday the 13th 5. He's the lead of the film. You know, A New Beginning, and is he the new Jason? You know, is his
so we should if he comes on.
Yeah, why don't we do a round robin? And if he doesn't come on, we'll do the round robin. If he does come on, we'll do the round robin the next show.
Right. So we'll spin for the round robin. But if he comes on, we'll do that film. We'll all watch that film and we can ask him questions about that film.
Awesome.
And this is the fifth one.
The fifth one. Yeah. A new number 5, A New Beginning.
Well, I do remember that
there would be a couple more new beginnings.
Exactly. This is like Cher's 6th farewell tour. It's like that, kind of like that.
I'm telling you, there's lots of documentaries out there about the Friday the 13th franchise that are very interesting. They
shouldn't watch our show. They should watch the documentaries.
They should do both. Do both. Speaking of which, you should smash the like button.
Not smash it. Punch it. Punch it.
Let's get some.
Like it, subscribe. Our subscriptions are going up too.
That's good. All right, so let's do this round robin.
All right, I'm so excited. What do you think, Robby?
Category? You seen this categories?
Oh, bad nuns.
Here we go.
Come on.
Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
All right. Now we've done
That's the question. Do you go with a good Nicolas Cage film?
I mean, the beauty is good, bad does not matter. Okay. So that'll be a fun one. So there you go. Nicolas
Gentlemen, welcome to The Rock.
Yeah. So either we do that in the next one or the one after if we get Tommy or what's his name? I'm sorry.
His name's John Shepard.
Get John Shepard.
And
he played Tommy.
He played Tommy.
It was not from 1985. Still haunted by his past. Tommy Jarvis, who was a child, killed Jason Voorhees, is sent to a secluded halfway house in the countryside where murders begin.
Oh, okay. So Tommy. Okay, I don't know the Friday the 13th.
Well, you remember 3, the one in 3D.
I saw the first one. That was it.
I saw the first one on Friday the 13th, the day it came out with my date. We went as a
By the way, I just want to throw out one more thing.
It's great.
The last 2 weeks, Aliens has been playing on cable. I've watched it twice. Yeah. What a great freaking movie that movie is.
That one and the second one.
And the tension, Aliens is what I'm talking about, Sean, the second one. Yeah. The tension in that movie, even though I've seen it 100 times, is palpable every time I watch that movie.
It's a classic.
It's incredible. And she is so good in the movie, Sigourney Weaver. Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, it's a good one. But don't hate on number 3 either. You should.
I don't hate it. It sucked.
There's only one flaw in Aliens. Second film. There's one flaw in that film. There's a scene, and this, even when I saw this, because I saw it in the theater, even though I was too young to go to an R-rated movie, it hit me. There's a scene in the movie where they're on the planetoid, right? And she says to them, "What's laying these eggs?" Right? She makes the thing where she says, "What's laying these eggs?" And I just went I was like, well, wait a minute. Earlier in the film, you made a point of saying that Kane said he saw thousands of eggs there. You already answered that question. Now, don't get me wrong. From a narrative point, you're setting up the queen, right? But they had already answered the question about how many eggs there were.
No,
or needed to be.
No, the question is where the eggs
thousands of eggs were in the spaceship. Where are the eggs coming from?
Her question is where are the eggs coming from?
Meaning, no. She says specifically, "What's laying these eggs?"
So she's asking.
Help me out, John. You just watched it twice.
Why is that a flaw? If she said Kane saw a bunch of these in the
derelict spaceship,
right? Because
why is there a flaw?
Why is there a flaw? Because she's already said to the people in the corporation.
She already said he saw a bunch of eggs,
right? So she says
this could be a whole nother show.
Yeah, exactly. She says right there. She's like, "We don't know how many of them have been exposed." Right.
Right.
My point is that we know that there's more eggs than there were colonists already before they showed up. So why would you be thinking to yourself that something is laying more eggs? You've already answered that question.
I think the whole point is where are they coming? Literally, where are they coming from?
Well, they were.
I think
They
it's
were already
incest.
thousands.
This is about incest. Aliens is about
Well,
incest.
I felt bad for it. So
Either
James
a female sexuality.
James
That's
Remar,
any movie. Any
James
movie.
Remar was Hicks originally, and he got fired because he got busted for heroin possession. And he's actually in a scene. You see him from the back. Well, Michael Biehn, who ends up playing Hicks, was great.
Yeah.
They called him. He called him on a Friday, James Cameron, and on Monday he was on the set shooting. In fact, the armor, they all customized their armor. He had to wear James Remar customized armor with the little heart with the lock on it.
And that movie made him famous. That movie.
He made more money on the third one when they used his picture. He got more money for the picture.
We know that.
But anyway, Sean, Debbie, have you seen Aliens, the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the first one and the second one.
So, but they're two totally different
entirely
movies.
different genres.
Yeah. But the tension, oh my God. Well, if we do Aliens, I've got a tracker and I've got a pulse rifle too that I'll bring.
And you also have a face hugger.
I have an egg. I have an egg with a face hugger.
Where'd that egg come
from? A
from?
life-size egg.
Who laid that egg?
Did you say, Deb?
I just want to say thank you for dressing for.
Oh, listen, when you said Forbidden Planet, I bought this like 10 years ago, and I've never had the chance to wear it. This is the first time I get to wear it.
See, he buys stuff, he doesn't wear it.
You wear it well.
Oh, listen, Freddie Mercury, give me a break, will you?
That's Halloween. That's Halloween.
Whatever. I love movies. I love dressing up. This is awesome. We do Aliens. I'm all over it.
All right.
Actually, I could pick
so
a Nick
next
Cage
week
movie,
could
too.
be a guest, or it's round robin Nicolas Cage movies.
2 weeks.
Either way, it's a
Isn't
winner.
it 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Next show. Next
Yeah,
show.
next show before.
I don't like to put.
Do we have
time
to
limit on
text
it.
you our Nicolas Cage choices?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Oh,
Okay.
No, Mom,
Ralph's
it's
gonna
gonna
pick
be
something
Family
off the
Man.
wall. Raising Arizona, right, Ralph? That's what you'll pick.
No, if you haven't. No, you guys ever see Mandy?
Oh no, I heard about it.
Yeah. No, one of my
The sailors
favorites is
say Mandy.
Honeymoon in Vegas. Is just
I love that
great.
movie. He's great in that
there's a
movie.
ton- he's got a ton. He's got a ton.
It's been Nicolas Cage month. They've been showing The Rock and Con Air. They keep showing them over and over again.
So,
I'm
On
sorry.
any other day, that might seem strange.
what were you gonna say, Chris?
I've never been impressed with Michael Bay. So
Well, if you like explosions, you'll be impressed with Michael Bay.
but the Rock, both the Rock
Rock is-
I love The
Con
Rock.
Air,
Love The Rock.
Well, he didn't do Con Air. Con Air's another guy.
I liked Old Bay.
But wasn't he?
Particularly on
Wasn't
Crabs.
he? Didn't Michael Bay? Wasn't he a producer on the Con Air? Like
I'm
that
not
whole
sure about
Bay
that.
Bruckheimer.
No, Mo, that was directed by. I know the name. I just can't
Yeah,
think
it's
of it.
Simon West, I think.
Thank you. You're right.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a
but
Michael
I thought
Bay.
it was produced by those two guys. Because
Maybe,
remember how
maybe.
Jerry Bruckheimer and Michael Bay used to have like a production
No, you're
company
thinking
of something?
Simpson.
No, he died.
Anyway, The Rock is
Oh,
great.
maybe,
Anyway,
yeah, maybe
Nicolas
you're right,
Cage.
Sean.
Yeah.
Just send me the film so we don't.
We could do another episode on that. Jeez.
So we're
It's
not
awesome.
doubling up on Nicolas Cage.
Debbie, this was awesome. Well, we got to give a Yippee-Ki-Yay or Yippee-Ki-Nay
Oh,
or Forbidden Planet.
I mean, how it's a yay.
Ralph?
Yay, 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 yay.
Yeah.
Debbie, Sean.
Ralph, you don't have to be forced.
No.
into-
I told you I
Come on
like the
now.
film. I'm just saying. I think.
We both give it a thumbs up.
I thought the robot was great. I like the
We
comedy.
give it
Yeah.
a thumbs up.
So no, definitely Yippee-Ki-Yay for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Classic. It is a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. I just don't think today's audience would buy it. But
Well,
again,
I
we could
wish
say
some
that
young people would comment on our.
that's not fair. I know. But he, millennial.
Ralph, you're a little like Debbie Downer. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie except for my bunion. Wah, wah, wah.
It's all good. All right, you guys have a safe week. We'll see you on the next one.
You.
Sounds good.